So now I want to hand over to one of the main reasons I applied to become a trustee of Action Tutoring. I knew that the work was brilliant, but I also knew that the team was brilliant, and I'd seen Susannah building that, and so one of the real pleasures of being a trustee is to get to work alongside our amazing CEO, Susannah, and so you're going to hear from her now.
Thank you, Andy. And I feel like this is going to be a tough act to follow, having learned such brilliant stories, but I'll do my best. Well, good evening, everyone. It's a huge pleasure to have you all here tonight, so thank you so much for making the effort to turn out in the rain and join us. It feels really surreal to be at this point of marking 10 years of Action Tutoring. So much has happened in that time for us as an organisation, but I think more widely in the sector as well. Certainly when we started 10 years ago, tutoring was very much a private industry with little access to it for those that couldn't afford it, and hence we were established to try and address that gap. But a decade on, tutoring has become significantly more mainstream, thanks, I hope, in part to our efforts, and of course the arrival of the National Tutoring Programme, which we joined with others here tonight to advocate very strongly for. Now, the National Tutoring Programme has certainly been an amazing opportunity for Action Tutoring to grow. However, one thing I've consistently said since it was introduced is that Action Tutoring was here long before the arrival of the NTP, and whatever the future may hold for it, we intend to be here long afterwards until we really do see that close in the attainment gap between disadvantaged pupils and their wealthier peers that's absolutely at the heart of all the work we do. The NTP is an incredible opportunity to roll out the benefits of tutoring that we've known exist for years on a significantly larger scale. And our long-term hope is that it can become embedded as a really lasting feature of the education system. But thinking back though to those very early days of Action Tutoring, two seminal moments stand out in my mind. The first was a focus group with a gathering of enthusiastic teachers and potential volunteer tutors crammed into my living room, who dreamed it had to be possible to try and level the playing field when it came to tutoring. I remember vividly that we concluded very early on that evening that for this to be successful, partnerships with schools had to be at the heart of how it would operate. And as you've heard this evening from Lucy, that absolutely remains true to this day. The second moment was a few months on from that focus group, when the very first ever tutoring session happened at the Harris Academy in Peckham. That session was on a Saturday morning, and there were many nerves as to whether pupils and indeed tutors would turn up, and some of the team will recognise that those nerves do indeed continue to this day. But the pupils and the tutors did turn up, and once they were all settled, working away, the teacher who was running the session with me and I looked at each other and we just said, wow, this is actually working. We weren't quite sure, we'd never tried this before. But seeing that tutoring taking place and hearing the positive feedback afterwards, it was really clear to me that there had to be an imperative to try and replicate what we were doing at scale around the country. And thanks to the support of many of you in the room, funders, generous supporters, people who believed in the vision, that's exactly what we've done. By the end of this year, we'll have supported 26,000 pupils through over 9,000 committed, high-quality volunteer tutors from a really fascinating range of different backgrounds. Now, one of those tutors we particularly wanted to acknowledge tonight. He was a retired volunteer and very sadly passed away unexpectedly in February. His name was Richard, and he delivered over 80 tutoring sessions with us in both English and Maths, embracing both online and face-to-face tutoring. And the programme staff have described him as the smartest dressed online tutor Action Tutoring has ever seen, always logging on to his sessions wearing a shirt and a tie. And here are a few reflections that he shared with some of the programme staff after some of his tutoring sessions. My involvement with Action Tutoring is allowing a new view of the outer world. I am indebted to Action Tutoring for allowing me to have a wider view of the children's situation amidst the current COVID problem. And my endeavour to assist in a small way is the very least I can do. The rewards far outweigh the effort. My life is enriched to a higher quality thanks to the kindness and professionalism of staff at Action Tutoring, together with the unique interactions of young people. It is like having a massive family of children eager to learn. And Richard's reflections, reading those when they were shared around the staff team, really reminded me of the power that we have in using volunteers that has always been central to our model. People like Richard have no interest in tutoring for financial reasons, but they have so much to give. And with the structure and support we provide on our programmes, the quality of the interaction that they deliver is really outstanding. And pupils themselves are often absolutely amazed when they hear that our tutors tutor for love. It empowers them to think that people want to give up their time to help them succeed. Plus it brings together people from different backgrounds who would probably never otherwise ordinarily meet, building vital social connections. Now, Dame Rachel highlighted in her message that while it's encouraging to see young people wanting tutoring and the work that's begun with the NTP, there is much more to be done, and I would completely agree with her. Tonight is certainly a reason for celebration, but we won't really be satisfied until we see a significant shift in the attainment gap, sadly, as we know, only further exacerbated by the pandemic. But we know it doesn't have to be that way. Our own evidence and data tell us that, and we know how to change it, but there are so many more young people still to reach. So what next for Action Tutoring? Well, we're an aspirational bunch, and we have 4 main priorities for the next few years that remain central to our goals, whatever the National Tutoring Programme may bring. Firstly, we've demonstrated through our own online programme and through pilots this year that it's really possible for us to work in lots of different new geographies. For example, this year we've been in Portsmouth, Coventry, Southport, Corby, places that with our face-to-face model would have been far harder to work in. And we believe that it should be possible to deliver action tutoring in almost any school in the country. And we want to significantly expand the number of schools that we're reaching in that way outside of our current 8 regions to ensure that we're reaching young people that really need our support and in areas where there's often far less availability of programmes like ours. And delivering on that model means we can reach much more widely. It gives us such a big springboard for further growth, our second priority. And we want to be supporting at least 12,000 pupils a year in 5 years' time. But being evidence-based is also one of our key values, and our third priority is to keep building our evidence base of impact, especially for our online model and as we expand to new areas, so that we're continually reflecting on what's working in the model and what we could be doing better. And finally, we believe that we have a significant role to play in advocacy, using our voice and experiences to ensure in particular that the National Tutoring Programme really does leave a lasting legacy and that tutoring for pupils facing disadvantage is permanently embedded in the education system to narrow the attainment gap. And we know that to achieve all of this ambitious goals, collaboration, another of our core values, will be critical to success, with sector partners, funders, schools and tutors and the wider network. And we look forward to working with all of you over the coming years to achieve these aims, working together to ensure that no child's future is limited by their background. But lastly, I couldn't end with some thanks. I'm hugely grateful to Alex for agreeing to host this evening. He's had to run off to an important ministerial meeting, but in his absence, our big thanks to Alex for all the support that he's given Action Tutoring and agreeing to host tonight. I want to thank all of you for giving up your evening to be with us, and to so many of you for the help and encouragement and support you've given on our journey, some of you since the very, very beginning. And then to the staff team, standing patiently and faithfully at the back, who are an absolute joy to lead and work with, continually inspiring me to push for the very best possible for our children and young people. They have such high standards for themselves and the work that we do. And finally, our trustees provide the most incredible support, along with some healthy challenge. And I particularly want to thank Peter, our chair, who's given hours and hours of his time to shaping the organisation that we are today, while continuing to keep his feet firmly rooted on the ground as a regular volunteer tutor too. Huge thank you, Peter. So, much to look back on and be thankful for, and much to get our teeth stuck into for the next decade. And I'm now going to hand over to Peter, who's just going to say a few closing words on behalf of the board before we get back to some more wine and canapes.